Oh man, it was just crazy. I don't know, I've just never to hear text messages with that kind of content, also though out of context, you know what I mean? Like it was just, I thought that, I thought to me, the more interesting part of all of it was the Ashley Massaro stuff.
Whether it was in WWE or in Impact Wrestling or even the NWA. This is a man who made a huge impression. He is the masterpiece, Chris Adonis, and he is scheduled to be in a huge title match this weekend in Puerto Rico for World Wrestling Council. How are you doing, sir?
Great, I'm feeling good. Unexpected thunderstorm here in Los Angeles. But we're split over here with the weather. So all is well in the world of the masterpiece. Thank you.
Man, how do you stay in the best shape of your life all the time, man?
Well, because I don't work out like specifically for wrestling. I mean, I do it for wrestling, but I do it for me first and foremost. And it's become such a habit of mine that's like almost as common as brushing your teeth. It's just like, I would have to be working out in some form or fashion, but like, I really like connecting with my body too. I've tried different forms of training, but I love bodybuilding because it's a thing for me where I can kind of connect with my body and just, really kind of it helps me connect with my body and see what aches, what doesn't, what feels good. And, I've gotten a lot better about training and just, I've always been consistent about it. But like throughout the last few years, I've been really putting in some hard work.
Amazing, man. So you have been in previous events in Puerto Rico, and I mean, you have quite a bit of history heading into this match. Could you tell the audience about it?
Oh, well, I mean, I think everybody knows my relationship with the Colon family, obviously, specifically Carlito. But his dad and his brother and his cousin, everybody. I've been going down there since. I mean, shoot, I worked Carlito there in with WWE in San Juan, and I think it was like in 2006. But then I also would return once I took my sabbatical, as they say, um, uh, out of WWE and worked for the Colones and or worked for Carlos, Carly's dad, and I don't know. It's always such a fun place to go. You know what I mean? It's an island, but everybody's like down to have a good time. It's a little wild, and I look forward to going back, man. Like I'm actually, it's definitely one of the places I circle on my calendar. What I was the last time I was there was January, and it was like 85 degrees outside too, so it was just perfect.
Amazing, man. You mentioned Carlito, and you have been very vocal. I have read your interviews to prepare for this one about potentially wanting to go back. And Carlito went back, and he's such a big part of SmackDown right now. Is that still on the horizon for you? Like, do you want to go back maybe?
I don't know if it's with WWE. All I know is like I am striving for something more. You know what I mean? I did work with the NWA for a couple years, and it was a good platform, I feel, and I did a lot of good things there. Had a lot of great matches, and really just tried to evolve uh, Chris Masters into like or Chris Adonis, and you know work on that part of my game and approach my whole game differently. So like, and I've got to a point now where I'm really ready to like take it to the next level with one of the major companies. I just don't know which one, I'll get the opportunity with, but hopefully the timing will be right with one of them and I can really, you know, have some of the best matches of my career. Cause I feel like my wrestling is better than it's ever been despite age or anything like that. I don't feel any older. I actually physically feel better than I ever have because I'm just at the perfect weight, and I've kind of taken care of myself better, a lot better, which you would hope most people do as you get older. But like I didn't so much when I was in my 20s and 30s, and now so I don't know. I just like I look at the landscape today, and I look at a guy like Drew McIntyre. I had great matches with him 10 years ago, but the stuff, like the fact that I can't go out there with him on pay-per-view on a yearly basis or bi-yearly basis, it's heartbreaking to me. Outside of just the personal anguish of not making that kind of money and stuff, it's just like, man, all these great matches. And that's because I have that kind of confidence in myself now, maybe too. But there's just so many great matches just left, off the table. And so I don't know. I'm hoping, I can make something happen and, get back on the national scene again.
Amazing, man. No, it's funny. So I am from India, and I had actually interviewed you when you had come to India. I think this was around 10 years ago, or maybe something like that, with Impact Wrestling.
Yeah.
And so many of the people who came, who were a part of that tour, are a part of WWE now. I mean, whether it's LA Knight or Bobby Lashley, and you have said you want to face Bobby Lashley a bunch of times. So is this a fun time to go back, with The Rock in the board of directors and with a new regime and all of that potentially?
Oh, I mean, like if I were to come back, there's a couple already baked in storylines. I mean, whether it be with Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Lock Master Lock, or even just anything with Carlito. You know what I mean? Like everybody knows that him and me are friends, and and the fans get off on that when they see something real come to fruition. Oh wow, it's really pouring out here. My goodness. Like that's the kind of stuff they like to see, and like that would get. Those two scenarios would strike the quickest connection with the fans to remember, because it's been a while since they see me. So, you know what I mean? It would be good to have, those would be the ideal situations, I gather.
Amazing, man. So you are very active on social media, and something you had put up recently was, CM Punk referencing you in a promo all those years ago, and it got a lot of people talking. So looking back on that, what was that like? And what do you think of him returning? I mean, he's one guy nobody thought would return to the company, right?
Yeah. So I guess it was surprising, but then again, I don't know. It's one of those things where, I guess in the moment it was probably surprising, but if we all just stop and really think about the track record of professional wrestling, it isn't that shocking, you know what I mean? Even for him, I'd say, because you've seen it happen time and time again. And if you're asking to when he had mentioned me in the promo, I liked the part of it that I knew that he meant it, what he said, because he had told me exactly what he said, recent to that. So I like the fact that part was genuine, you know what I mean? But I mean, I don't know how much of that was worked out ahead of time. I mean, maybe he did just shoot all that, but in my mind, it was still something that I'm sure they all laid out and talked about. It wasn't completely out of left field to them. You know what I mean? So it was still part of the storyline, but I appreciate the fact that he, again, lended some, real compliment in there that he actually meant,
You said, you're wrestling better than ever. How different are you from the guy we saw in WWE?
Oh, I would like to think a million times, just because I am so comfortable in the ring now, and I have so much fun doing it. And I just approached my whole game differently and tried to kind of remake every aspect of my personality, whether it be look-wise, style-wise, the way I carry myself, the way I approach promos, the way I dress, all of it. And I actually just geared myself more towards what I was trying to make 12-year-old fan a fan of Chris Masters' Adonis. And that made it actually a lot more simple for me. It wasn't about trying to please everybody. It's just let me just please that guy. And that guy was such a huge mark that other people will, come along too, maybe it won't be everybody's cup of tea, but you will have fans. And so, and I approach my promos always from a real place now. It's never me faking anything. Anytime I'm saying something, I'm twisting those words into a way I believe it. So, yeah, it's just been, and then when you talk about just the wrestling aspect wise, it's just, I'm a lighter weight now, but I'm also a more athletic performer. I cover the ring. I get up and down off the mat quicker. Again, kind of gearing myself towards more the wrestlers I liked and and would like to emanate from when I was a kid, which was, the Ric Flairs, the Mr. Perfect, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, like those were all of my like guys. Like the ultimate, I always tell people the Ultimate Warrior got me watching wrestling, yes. And I can still appreciate the Warrior for like the things he was great with, his look and his music and the character and all that. But as the Warrior would come and go and stuff, that's when I started to recognize those guys, specifically Bret and Shawn. But like Perfect, I always like just, the way he sold stuff, even as a kid, I was like, wow. And Shawn Michaels too, and the way Bret Hart just, again, the way they covered the ring and how they were athletic too. So that's kind of what I wanted to bring to my game. I wanted to be a guy that was, I still got to be the masterpiece, but like the masterpiece doesn't have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know what I mean? The masterpiece really just needs to be a stud. You know what I mean? Like, what are all those, that Michelangelo statue? That guy is not 280 pounds. He's just like lean and like just nice aesthetically. So like, I just tried to gear more. It's like, okay, so the masterpiece to me now isn't a meathead. He's more of kind of a pretty boy a little bit, you know what I mean? Or just a stud,
So the modern day Heartbreak Kid, so to speak?
Yes. Yes, very similar, yeah. Of course I would take from him, yeah.
Amazing. So when you spoke about that generation, is there someone today, maybe in the generation after you, that you look at and you're like, okay, this guy is very exciting, and maybe I want to take that guy on someday?
Braun Breaker is, if you're talking about like kind of, we're going to that level of youth. And then there's, I haven't watched too much of the NXT, although I know that there is a guy there, and I can't think of his name right off the top of my head. But I don't know. Again, when I think of WWE, I think of more even like the matches that could have be had with Randy Orton at this point, or I'm still thinking about, or even LA Knight, because he's a good friend of mine. You know what I mean? Like it would be fun to strap up with any of those guys, honestly. Because I mean, you got to understand too. For me, I being on the indie scene, most of the time I don't have guys of that level. I'm having to teach a lot of guys. So like anytime you get one like guys of that kind, especially when you're talking about obviously the WWE, because then you're also getting now the typically the top athletes in the sport or business, when you're talking about WWE, AEW, Impact, any of those. So, but like, so I think about those guys probably specifically, but, I guess, Braun Breaker would be interesting just because the Steiner thing, and I'm sure that he's going to be a big star in the future and all that, and there's more, I'm sure, I mean, you're just kind of putting me on the spot with
that. Speaking of putting you on the spot, I mean, I cannot not ask you this question, but everything that happened with Vince, do you have a reaction to that?
Oh man, it was just crazy. Like I don't know, I've just never, to hear text messages with that kind of content, also though out of context, you know what I mean? Like it was just, I thought the more interesting part of all of it was the Ashley Massaro stuff. The Janelle Grant stuff, if true, was awful, and I don't know it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. But the Ashley Massaro stuff was a little more revealing to me about, Vince maybe sometimes, gearing segments towards, or certain things towards his personal vendettas and stuff like that. Like, so, that part I think was a little more eye-opening than anything.
Fair enough, sir. And finally, I mean, I think we are out of time. What can people expect in Puerto Rico this weekend from the new chiseled you?
You're going to have the masterpiece Chris Adonis defending the WWC Universal Championship against the previous champion Intellecto. I've beat him once. I think I can beat him again. He's a popular man out there, but as I said on the TV show, I am Puerto Rico's favorite gringo, and I will not let the people down. I am going to defeat Intellecto. I'm going to leave that island once again with the WWC Championship. And I think it's going to be a hard-hitting affair, because one thing I do know from working Intellecto last time is he's a big, strong dude, and like it's basically like two bulls. So like I just got to try to outmaneuver him and outquick him and out intellecto him if possible, and walk out with the victor.
I heard you.
And then and then maybe I'll go to the beach next day and talk to some senoritas, have a couple drinks with the championship. I don't know. I gotta see what my flight is.
Man, I heard you stole his move. That is what I was told.
Yeah, and I wasn't even aware. I mean, I do use the master lock, obviously, and I have used it with the slam variation, maybe once or twice. But I mean, honestly, I didn't think when I had him in that master lock, I didn't know if he was actually going to tap or give, and so for me, it was kind of out of desperation because he was so big to get around the shoulders. I'm like, if I hit him with that thingy, I can get him. And then I found out after it was his finish. Oops.
And my final question is, Shelton Benjamin will be there as well. I'm guessing an old friend of yours.
Yes, Shelton B.
What is it like? I mean, this man ages like fine wine, right? He was in WWE until maybe a few years ago.
I don't know. He's amazing, man. Like, some of my peers have not aged a day, and you could say, you could put Shelton on that list, but you could also put Bobby Lashley on that list too, right? Like, what's amazing about Shelton is I'm damn sure he's still got like all that athletic ability too. So like he's just a mutant when it comes to that. His whole thing is Thundercats, and it's not just a thing for him. Like he's a living, breathing Thundercat. So if you want to see a living, breathing Thundercat, come to the show, Puerto Rico on the 13th. I promise you, he is as close as it gets.
Amazing. It was such a pleasure talking to you, and I hope we get to do it again if you make these visits to Puerto Rico.
Well, thank you, my man. Appreciate you.